Hey, I'm Michelle and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about divine mercy. And check out my links below for more information and resources about divine mercy. Before we could even talk about what is divine mercy, we have to think about what is God's nature. So God's nature is one of self-giving love. And what sets us apart as Christians is that we believe in a Trinitarian God. In a Trinitarian God, we have God, the lover, Jesus, the beloved, and the love between them, which is the Holy Spirit. Our families are a perfect mirror image of this self-giving love. We have Father, Mother, and the love between them, which is child. So God's love is communicated to us through salvation history. And Jesus ultimately reveals the merciful love of the Father through his self-giving love on the cross. So what is divine mercy? Private revelation of Saint Faustina, we were given the devotion to divine mercy, which has 3 parts to it. The best way to remember it is the ABCs. A, we ask God for mercy. B, we be merciful. And C, we trust in God's mercy. So I have a story about divine mercy in my own life. I was estranged from the church and I had been away for a long time, basically because of a lot of hurt and a lot of sin in my own life. And in a final attempt to return to the church, I found myself seeking the sacrament of reconciliation. So I was in the confessional and it was not ideal. I found myself having an argument with the pastor while I was in the confessional about things that I was angry at the church for, misunderstandings that I had about what the church teaches on sexuality and just my own brokenness. And through the whole process, even though the confession wasn't the most ideal, at the very end, the priest, as his penance, gave me Luke chapter 15 to go and read. I left the confessional in tears, determined that I would never return to this church that I hated. And instead, I found myself sitting in the pew, even though I was crying, looking up the verse that he encouraged me to read. And if you're not familiar, Luke chapter 15 is all about the lost sheep, the lost coin, and the story of the prodigal son coming back. And so in this moment, I was able to recognize just a little shadow of God's love and mercy for me, even though I had sort of turned my back on Christ. So I found myself a few weeks later returning to the sacrament of reconciliation. This time a little bit more prepared. I actually spoke to my own parish priest and arranged a time to meet with him. I explained to him that I hadn't had the best confession in the last experience and, asked for advice for how to approach the sacrament again. And this time in that sacrament of confession, I admitted to the priest that I really didn't know if I believed in Jesus. That was my biggest barrier with the church. And he said to me very healing, very powerful words, which were, you can turn your back on Jesus, but he will never stop believing in you. And in that moment, I was able to see and recognize God's love and mercy for me. And that is how I came back into the church, through that first confession, being open to God's love and mercy. And of course, when we're open to mercy and we recognize our own sinfulness and our own failures, naturally we're able to be merciful to others. Because through that mercy that God has given us, we're easily able to forgive others because we recognize our own poverty and recognize our own shortcomings. And we're that much more able to receive the love of God in that moment. So after we ask for mercy and then we are merciful, the third step is to trust. To say, Jesus, I trust in you, and to hand it over to him. So how can you celebrate divine mercy in your own life? Well, the church has given us a few really important special ways. Number 1, The week after Easter, the Sunday after Easter, is designated as Divine Mercy Sunday. And it's a day filled with many graces where we accept God's love and mercy and we come to Him as sorrowful sinners and open ourselves up to His love and forgiveness. We can do this by seeking the sacrament of reconciliation and seeking the Eucharist on that day. The other thing that the Church gives us through the revelation of St. Faustina is the hour of mercy. So 3 o'clock every day is the hour of mercy. So when we can say a little prayer, Jesus, I trust in you, open ourselves up to God's mercy at 3 o'clock every day. So you might be asking yourself, okay, Michelle, this is great, but right now we're in quarantine. I can't seek the sacrament of reconciliation. I can't go to Mass and receive the Eucharist. Can I still receive God's love and mercy? And the answer is yes. You can always receive God's love and mercy. Be open to it. You can pray the Chaplet of Divine Mercy, and you can just have an open heart and recognize that God always draws His people back to Him. So I'm praying for you in this beautiful octave of Easter. Blessings. Bye.